Okay, we're gonna start the meeting. All right, let me just hit the record button to this computer. Okay, so to let everyone know before we begin that this is being recorded and anything that is said or written in the chat can be for at a later date. So,
Thank you, everyone, for joining. Good evening. This is Community Board 13 Resiliency Committee meeting. Before we begin, we want to introduce the team since it's been a while since we had a meeting. My name is Robin Parrison. I'm the chair of the committee.
Hello, my name is Victoria Krupelets. I am a vice chair.
My name is Mark Murnick, member.
My name is Minnie Mankita, member.
and of course, Eddie Mark, and we have Lucia over there.
Okay, so this evening we have something special for you. We have Elizabeth O'Donnell from the New York City Emergency Management, and we are so happy that she is able to make this presentation for us. That is extremely important for our area. And what's great as well is it is recorded so we can get this out to the masses once it's complete. So thank you so much again, Elizabeth, for doing this for us. I'm just going to turn it right over to you. You can tell everybody else about yourself.
Sure. Well, thank you very much for having me. I'm very happy to be here tonight. I'm going to share my screen. And I will start by introducing myself. Hold on one second. I'll start by introducing myself. So I am the Director of Learning and Development. I have been with the agency for about 13 years, and I love emergency management, and I love sharing, best practices and things that we will be reviewing tonight on how to make a plan, how to make a go bag, and also how to get your information. So thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll kick off my presentation. So who we are and what we do. So New York City Emergency Management, we help New Yorkers before, during, and after emergencies through preparedness, education, and response. And our agency is responsible for coordinating citywide emergency planning and response for all types of scales of emergencies. And so we are staffed by about 200 professionals who have a diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise, including individuals assigned from other city agencies. So we're very lucky to have these subject matter experts to help us with the work that we do. A number of programming that we have for community engagement is we educate New Yorkers about preparing for disasters. So Ready New York is a public education campaign that will, allows the community to learn about hazards they may face in New York City and for all types of emergencies. We also have our community preparedness group, who helps local organizations build capacity within their community to prepare, respond to, and recover from emergencies as well. And then we have our community emergency response team volunteers. Now, this group, they're a dedicated group of volunteers who undergo a training program that provides basic skills needed for fire safety, traffic, management, light search and rescue, communities disaster support, and a number of other different topics. So if anybody is interested, feel free to, if you're interested in signing up, feel free to visit our website. We'd love to have you and just support your local community. And so we would always say there's 3 basic steps to be prepared. We would say, make a plan, gather your supplies, and stay informed. And what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to just go through a number of these different topics and share a few vignettes here and there to allow folks to make their plan. And so our resource, which is the My Plan, and I will drop that link in the chat so folks can open it up and check it out. This is a copy that you could download, and the plan is available in a number of different languages. I think we have 13 different languages here, and you could feel free to disseminate this link to those in your family, friends, so they can also focus on creating their own plan as well. And so when we're talking about making a plan, we always think about what does that mean? And so the first thing on the list would be we want you to create an emergency support network. So these are the folks who are near you in your community, but also out of state. It's really important to like have these conversations with your friends, family before an emergency happens. So if you needed to get in contact with someone out of state, they can contact you um, in the event that your local phone lines are jammed up. It's also really helpful to have discussions with them to say, hey, if I needed to reach out to you for assistance, could you be my emergency contact? Or could I come stay with you in the event I needed to leave my home for, a day or two? How does that work? So, they're there to support you. It's really helpful. We also think about having some life-saving information. So writing down information such as medications, your the the names of, excuse me, one sec. There's a number of health and life-saving information that's really helpful that you can compile in your My Plan. And, you feel free to write this information out. It's helpful to keep a copy in your pocket, in your wallet. If you needed help, people can, you can just hand that over to emergency, the folks who are supporting you if you had an incident. This is really helpful information as well, so you can get the help that you needed. And it's really helpful to think about coming up with your those in your household. Apologies, I have a meeting near me. Then we want to think about, coming up with different solutions and how to communicate with those who are hard of hearing, who might have disability and access functional needs. So you want to practice alternative ways to communicate with those around you. So tips would be, using note cards, using text messages. These are types of things that can help you prepare during an emergency. Moving on to evacuations, which is another part of making a plan, is that we want you to know how to evacuate. And so, of course, if you smell gas or if you see smoke or fire, please close the door behind you. And of course, call 911. If you evacuate an emergency, you want to know where you can meet your friends and family. And so these are these are the locations where there are two places that we want you to meet, which would be one right outside your home and another outside your neighborhood, such as library, community center, or place of worship. And another location could be a place where maybe it's not in front of your home. And that would be helpful for you to access Wi-Fi and meet your loved ones in the event that you couldn't meet directly in front of your home. So it's also a really good idea to practice evacuating with your family and those in your household, and you could involve those who, if you have any pets or animals, you want to consider different situations. Additionally, we want you to think about your transportation plan in case the public transportation were to shut down. So you want to maybe have conversations with your friends and family. How would you get around? Would you have small bills, if you needed to catch a taxi? If you are planning to walk, knowing where to go and what your plan is really helpful. So there's no panic in the event that there is an emergency. Additionally, we also want you to think about sheltering in place. And so, of course, during snowstorms and heat waves, you may stay at home, and it's important to prepare with supplies. Turn another type of emergency, you may need to shelter in place. So it's important to know if your building is fireproof. Typically, buildings higher than 7 floors may be. Of course, if the fire is not in your own apartment, you want to stay inside. You call 911, let the operator know, and keep your door closed if the smoke is coming in. Your apartment, you would put like a wet towel below your door. So that's an example of like when you would, shelter in place. And then in the event that you needed to your emergency requires you to evacuate and you're not able to stay at home with a friend or a family, you may want to consider going to a hotel or a shelter. And of course, like emergency shelters will be usually set up in schools, city buildings, places of worship. But it's really important to stay informed through city resources like Notify NYC, which we'll talk about in a little bit later. It's a free resource that gives you up-to-date information on locations and where to stay. During a coastal storm, an evacuation order may be issued. And so, of course, those living in a hurricane evacuation zone, they may direct you to go to a certain location. And so that brings me to my next point, which would be I think you can see this in your plan, but also if you go online, there is you can see what zone you're in. And so New York City evacuation zones are areas of the city, I see some nodding, that of the city that are subject to storm surge flooding. And so it's divided into 6 evacuation zones, 1 to 6, based on the risk of storm surge flooding. And so city may order residents to evacuate depending on the hurricane's track and forecasted storm surge. And just as a reminder, Atlantic hurricane season occurs between June 1st through November 30th. So we're still in the season. However, New York City is most at risk during August and October. So we are nearing the end of the month, which is lucky. Additional considerations for those residents living in high-rise buildings and basements, you may be vulnerable to flooding. So of course you want to be prepared to take shelter at a higher floor during periods of heavy rain, and then ensure that you have the right insurance, whether you rent or if you own your home. You may want to be reviewing the policies that may be not covered by your basic insurance. So review your insurance policy plans. That would be one of our tips for you. Knowing your zone. So I think that there might be a map in the document I sent you, but if you go online, this is really fun to do. If you don't do it now, you do it later. You can type in your address to see where you live. You may even want to, if you're having these conversations when you're making the plan with like your friends or your family or those in your house, outside of your household who you would be tapping into as an emergency contact, you also may want to know if they're in a zone as well. And so you would search your address and it would share the zone you're in, but also in the event of an emergency, the hurricane evacuation zone finder will show what kind of evacuation centers would be open during that particular time. And so feel free to call 311 to find out more information, especially those for individual with disabilities and access functional needs. This is really useful. So then moving on to gathering supplies. This is, I think, my favorite thing to talk about. It's, creating a hands-free backpack with supplies that you will take with you when you evacuate. And so some examples of items that you may pack would be copies of your important documents. They can even be put on a USB drive, flashlight, money, small bills. Nobody wants to be going to the local deli to get bottles of water with a $100 bill. First aid kit, I think I said flashlight, but also batteries, but keep them separated until you need the batteries because you don't want your batteries to drain sitting in your bag. any personal hygiene materials, a radio, pens, snacks, non-perishable food items, and water, anything that you feel like you would need to take with you at a moment's notice. It's also really important to change out your go bag as the seasons change to ensure your bag stays up to date. So I like to, when the daylight savings, when the time changes on the clocks, change my battery of my smoke detector, but I also go through my go bag as well to make sure nothing has expired, and I rotate out my clothing and any anything that I need in order to get through a particular season. So when we're creating a go bag, we're gathering supplies for ourselves, but we also want to not forget about the other individuals in your household. If you have children, we also want to remember our pets as well. So you can, create a personalized bag for them as well. Baby formula, uh, for young children, anything that you think you would need, or diapers, things to support them as well. And then examples for your pets could be water, carrier, picture of your pet, vaccination records, food, blankets, anything that you think you would need for them as well. Additional considerations we want to think about are for individuals who might need additional equipment that they rely on. So electrical, medical equipment, if you need backup power, if there's life-sustaining equipment, I think your utility company would be able to, you could check in with them to see if you qualify to be listed as a life-sustaining equipment customer. I think this is really important to know, if that's the case. If you're looking for more ideas and more tips on this topic, of course, you can visit the website as well with more ideas on how to prepare for some of these additional considerations as well. Lastly, we like to say, stay informed. We have our Notify NYC. This is a free service. You can opt in, and it's really useful because it provides information to New Yorkers on situations and planned events throughout the city, and offers messaging in 13 languages. And so examples of, this type of notification could be emergency alerts, public health alerts, weather updates, ferry disruptions, any regional mass transit disruptions. I would say the major traffic disruptions are the ones that I tend to use the most. If you're driving and you need, there's an accident or something pops up, I get a notice on my phone, and you can customize the types of notification types on like your place of work or where you live. So it's customized for you. It's free, so don't forget to sign up. We have, I think, a QR code here. I'll give a second for folks to take a screenshot or to use their camera to take a snapshot of the QR code. And of course, it's all available on our website as well if you wanted to learn more. It's a really great application. We hope everybody takes advantage of it. And to close, I'd like to share a video with you. If I believe the sound should be turned on, so if for some reason folks are not hearing the sound, please let me know. I'm happy to replay.
Everyone refers to him as Mr. Prepared. I got home early for a change, and I remember standing outside under this bright blue sky. And the news was talking about this hurricane for days. But from where I was standing, it didn't seem like there was a storm coming at all. My wife Tracy was still at work, Ella was at soccer practice, and my son Joey had gone to a friend's house after school. I figured I had the whole afternoon to myself. Hey, Harold! But my neighbor Sam saw I was home, and he yelled out to me. Everyone refers to him as Mr. Prepared. About a month earlier, Sam showed me a supply kit he was putting together for stay-at-home emergencies and a go bag that he might need in the event that he ever had to rush out of his house during a fire or other evacuation. The go bag, as he called it, held all the essentials that he needed if he had to leave home in a hurry or for a few days. I remember thinking it was a good idea, but I just never got around to it. Anyway, Sam was packing up his car, and he said I should do the same. Well, the forecast was predicting that the hurricanes would hit hard enough to flood all the houses along the coast, and we had been ordered to evacuate by 8:30 p.m. to allow plenty of time before the storm hit. I suddenly started to believe all the news reports. Sam was signed up with Notify NYC, so he was automatically getting text messages about the storm. Then he asked me, "Where's your family?" And I think that's when I began to worry. I went back home with a sick feeling in the pit of my stomach, but I still didn't want to believe that this storm would hit so hard. I mean, we have been through a lot of storm warnings before, and it just seemed like a bunch of hype. We always came out fine. In hindsight, I should have been paying more attention, because the next time I looked outside, the weather was threatening. My wife and my daughter got home, and I reassured them we'll be safe if we stayed inside. My son was supposed to be home by 4:30, but by 5 o'clock, I still hadn't heard anything from him. I tried calling his friend's house, but by then, the local phone lines were all tied up, and I couldn't get through to anybody. We were all worried about Joey, and I felt like I needed to go and try to find him, but I couldn't leave Tracy and Ella alone. There's nothing worse than knowing that your child could be in danger, especially when you know that you could have prevented it. The time to help Joey was months before the storm. I could have made a plan with him about what to do in an emergency, who to contact, where to go. That one conversation could have made all the difference. It must have been around 8 o'clock when emergency workers knocked on our door and told us we had to go, now. I still hadn't heard anything from Joey. The hurricane was approaching and the storm surge would flood our home. We left with nothing but the shirts on our backs and headed for a bus station so we can get to the nearest shelter. We were lucky, very, very lucky. We were cold, tired, but we made it to safety. And my son? He made it to the same shelter with the family of the friends we had been with. Seeing him was the biggest relief of my life. I just broke down. At that moment, I promised myself I'd be better prepared for future catastrophes. We were thankful to be in a safe place, but that first night at the hurricane shelter was rough on the kids because we didn't have any clean clothes or any activities for them. And when you know it, there was Sam, Mr. Prepared. Each person in his family came with their own go bag, and they had extra clothes, blankets, toiletries, snacks, books, and games for the kids. And Sam was nice enough to share, which made a big difference for us. When we were finally able to return home, we found all of our windows broken and a lot of flood damage. We lost almost everything in that hurricane. We were able to repair the damage eventually, but there were photos and documents that we can't ever replace. Now, we keep those things in plastic crates, elevated off the floor, and we keep copies of our most important documents in portable, waterproof containers that fit in our go bags. Part of being prepared also means that we have a plan. Everyone in my immediate and extended family knows about it and knows how to execute it, including the kids. We know our evacuation zone, and if this ever happens again, we'll know when to go and where to go. Our plan A is to stay with my best friend Rick. He has a house in the Bronx, located in a safe area well outside of the evacuation zones. Plan B is to head to the evacuation center. All of our family members know to communicate with us through social media and to call my brother Vic in Denver. Having an out-of-state contact can allow us to pass on messages, even if local phone lines are busy. My family also knows to check the Office of Emergency Management's website for information. And we're all signed up for Notify NYC for fast and reliable emergency updates. Now my neighbors call me Mr. Prepared, and that's a good thing, because being prepared is the best way to protect my family.
This is a really nice video that really highlights the importance of making a plan, gathering your supplies, and also, getting your information to get informed. And so hopefully this was helpful to have you start to think about what are the type of supplies that you would need in an emergency. Where can you find your hurricane evacuation zone? What applications would you be tapping into to stay informed? And also, what do you need to put in your go bag? And so thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to us at readynewyork@oem.nyc.gov. You can also follow us on a number of these different social media apps. And you can also just Google us and New York City Emergency Management, and all of our information is here. And so I recommend that you check out the link that I posted in the chat. It's the emergency plan, a link to get your emergency plan, and it's all laid out for you so you can have, nice time to fill it out and do the work to create a plan. With that, I will conclude my presentation and open it up for any questions.
Elizabeth, this is Robin. Thank you so much for the presentation. And you said the links are in there where they can get copies of the information you just went over, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So my question to you would be, knowing the zone that we're in, if we were to ask you, what are the top things that you want to leave us with that are most important, what would you say?
Well, I would say I think it's really important to sign up for NYC, Notify NYC. So you can click on the different options of the alerts that you would want to get. I would say I know I is a little redundant, but to go back and to make your plan, to create that customized plan to ensure that you and those who are living in your household are prepared for the next emergency. And just take 5 minutes to get started. And that 5 minutes may turn into 10. And that 10 minutes may turn into an activity with those who you're living in an apartment with, or sharing something cool that you found to share with one of your friends or a neighbor. It is also fun to create a competition to make the best customized go bag. You don't have to go out and spend a lot of money. You can go around your home just to collect a number of different items to, ultimately be prepared. But, going on the website to check out what evacuation zone that you're in, and also those who would be an emergency contact would be really useful. I would say start there.
Thank you. Anyone
Thank
else?
you.
Well, Mark?
I had a question on the printed publication. I remember getting that publication 6 years ago at one of the Cornell and Beautification Project
Yeah.
seminars on resiliency.
Mhm.
Is it the same publication? Do you update it every year, 2 years?
I
Anything?
think you should check out. We do update it, and there's new materials that always go out. I would say maybe if you have filled out your My Plan, you can take a look at this version to see if there's anything else added. But we do update our content in our materials.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, and it's so nice to hear that our things are, visible in our communities. So thank you for sharing.
So, I have a question. During Hurricane Sandy, we didn't have any electrical power. And so we didn't have any cellular service
Mm.
because the towers didn't have service.
Mhm.
In an event that something like that would happen, does the city, have an alternative using satellites or some other means of communication so that we have an alternative if something like that happens?
I I can't speak to the specifics of like satellites. I know that they're available if we needed to tap into sat phones. Um, Wi-Fi, I'm sure that there would be locations that you could maybe tap into if it's, one area of the city, if there's a different borough that is not, if there's a certain neighborhood that's, sorry, if there's a certain neighborhood that's impacted, I'm sure that there would be notifications on maybe restoration to any sat towers, but I think it would be like time of that you would be able to get that updated information. Um, does that help? Did I answer your question? No.
No, actually, but that's okay.
No,
Thank
it's
you
okay.
anyway.
I will say during Hurricane Sandy, speaking on personal experience, I was in an area where I didn't have, obviously I was working during Sandy, but my apartment was in an area where there was no power. And what I did was I got a solar charger to charge my devices. I I don't remember any of the Wi-Fi being an issue during that time, but again, I can't speak to specifics, so I apologize if I confused you or anyone else. But maybe tuning
That's a good
into the
idea,
TV,
solar.
solar, and also they have these portable battery chargers that you could charge before an event that you can keep in your bag. And so if you needed to charge any of your devices, your laptops, possibly the news, I would say maybe your local news station would be something that you could tap into too in the event like your internet or if your phone devices are having any issues.
It's a good idea. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Right.
Sorry if I caused any confusion.
Yeah, just as a background, this neighborhood that where Community Board 13 is was ground zero
Yes.
Yeah.
for Sandy.
Yeah.
It went literally right over us,
hmm
and we were out for 4 days.
Oh,
Yeah.
more.
I was out for 4 days.
Yeah.
And
More.
for 3 months, there
Yeah.
were portable trucks with masks on them to try to get cell phone service, which
Yes.
was
I do
didn't
recall.
work very well.
Mm, I think I recall that there were some cell towers that might have been deployed to the neighborhood where folks were able to
Yes,
access.
there were.
So hopefully, they're able to deploy those again if the need arose. But apologies for, you
Right.
know,
We were
the
lucky that those of us who had landlines, because
Yes.
there were copper
Yes.
wiring, and so
Yes.
we had electrical power and we could use those phones, but that no longer exists. Verizon took that out. We
oh
have
no,
fiber, so we have fewer choices.
fewer
But
choices.
thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
had a generator which lasted about 2 days before I ran out of gas.
Yeah, oh, yeah, and the gas line too. Yeah, it's the gas
Anybody
line.
else?
Anybody in the Zoom that has a question for Elizabeth? Uh, No, nobody.
Elizabeth, I have another question. I'm not sure if this is your area, but I was wondering if you could explain to people who may not know on the call what to expect with all the various types of flooding, rainfall that we've been getting, just to make them have an understanding of what we should expect moving forward. Because just this last rainstorm left much of the area flooded. So if you have any knowledge that you can share about that to educate members who view this, that would be wonderful.
Is your question referring to what they should do to be prepared for emergencies like flooding?
For these events, because they are going to happen more frequently.
The microburst. Yes.
Yeah. Well, what I can speak to is, we're talking about, preparing for all types of emergencies. And so,
Okay.
being prepared and making sure you have the things that you would need to feel comfortable, staying inside, and maybe we're not traveling during, a time where there's flooding. And then I would also say, go to Notify NYC, which is great. After the flooding happens, if there's any issues with inundation of floodwaters, you would be able to know at a moment's notice in real time what the issues are.
Is there any way you could prepare if you're in your car and there's so much flooding that you feel in danger? Is there anything you could have that you
If
could
you're
suggest?
if
In the
you're
car.
if you're in your car and there's flooding.
Yeah, and suddenly there's a surge, right?
That's right.
I I actually I can't provide. I mean, I would say do your best to get out of harm's way if you can. But listen to, the news and any updates that we're sharing, in preparation for any potential flooding. So that way, you don't put yourself into harm's way in the event that there is some sort of flooding incident at a moment's notice. It's a good question. Thank you.
Okay, we have Craig Hammerman.
Thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth. That was an informative presentation. Appreciate that. So the key to emergency situations obviously is maintaining good, clear communication. And one way in which that happens in the rest of the city, in my old community district, all of the old public pay phones that still had active conduits were replaced with public kiosks, part of the Link NYC system. And those public kiosks had screens and they had charging stations. And on those screens, you could get messages in multiple languages on very different subjects. They even advertised community board meetings on some of those screens. So as a public information tool, they're pretty indispensable, especially in the event of an emergency. Community Board 13 has no Link NYC kiosks. We do have a lot of old payphones that have been covered over, but the conduits are still in place. And we have absolutely no idea when or even if we're ever going to get those kiosks here. Is that something that the Office of Emergency Management can help us expedite?
So that is outside of my area of expertise.
It's
However,
OTI, yes.
I would say maybe call 311 and maybe
Well, we're scheduled to get them eventually. What happens is it starts at downtown Brooklyn first, and then
Eventually,
goes
Eddie,
to.
eventually is not a schedule.
No, I know, but remember, you can't jump over central Brooklyn before getting to lower, southern Brooklyn. So
We
they have to
should
get
be a
there first.
priority because we
We
are
should
in
be,
a
but
high-risk
according to
zone, and
OTI,
that should be the position that the community board is
sure,
advocating.
understood. But you have to understand that OTI is not going to jump through hoops to go through for us first
They
before
certainly
going
won't if they
through the
don't hear
other
from
one.
us. So maybe we should be writing them a letter.
We've been advocating that very much a long time now.
I'd
We've
love to
been
see your
asking that
letters.
to our president, and and they're like, we'll get to it. But not that we don't need it. We've been asking for it. It's just something that we can't tell them what to do because they say you have to go through other parts of Brooklyn before getting to Coney Island and Brighton Beach.
I would love to see the last letter that was written on this so that we could
This was
advocate for this as citizens.
this was a discussion at the borough
So
cabinet.
nothing's in writing. Okay,
Nothing's in writing. They just told us
right,
OTI.
right. That's part of the problem.
Yeah,
Nothing's
just
in writing.
that's
Thank
fine.
you.
It's been in district needs.
It's our district
for
needs.
the last.
Yes, but if you don't send
might
a
have been in
separate
before
letter,
that.
there's very low-level staff people that read those district needs statements. It
Mhm.
doesn't go to the people at the top.
All right,
Thanks,
noted.
Craig.
I have one
Thank
more
you.
question. In terms of being preparedness, this neighborhood, we were just saying, is subject to huge gusts of wind. And there was a tragic situation about a month ago in which a solar panel was dislodged from the top of a parking garage. And a woman got hit by that solar panel and was killed. Is there some way we could have some kind of wind sensors deployed in the neighborhood so that in the event of a horrible storm, we would have like granular information to let people know that it's dangerous and how dangerous it is for people to go out at that time?
I could share that the National Weather Service, provides information on wind gusts, and that information might be useful. And their recommendations for the public may be based on like the wind gusts may be to stay inside, shelter in place, especially if there's a storm. But to the rest of your question, I'm sorry, I don't think this is within my area of expertise.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
That make it into the Ready NYC app as another wind gust kind of a different alert in the Ready NYC app.
So I do know in Notify NYC, they share
No, I'm sorry,
weather.
notify it.
Yes, they share weather updates. So any
yeah.
weather updates and information related to any like inclement weather, severe weather, you'll
My
you'll
question
know.
was not, yeah, but that's a very that's general information. It's not specific to this area. We're right near the ocean. And so our environment is significantly different than it would be in other areas, in other neighborhoods. So it would be helpful if some thought was given into helping protect those of us who live in areas that are more subject to different kinds of weather conditions. If you could pass that along, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, is that it? Anyone else have any questions? Elizabeth, thank you so much for taking the time to do that presentation for us. And we look forward for an opportunity to come back again if you have any additional to share.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, everyone, for your time tonight and for your questions. And hopefully I was helpful to, share, how to make a plan, how to gather supplies and get informed. And so I wish you all a lovely night, and I hope you have a nice evening. Get home safe,
Thank you
please.
so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody else, for joining as well. We'll leave this by saying, get your bags packed.
Thank you.
It's important.